What if the podcast fails similarly to 40 times 40? Because 40 times 40, there was the big intro, celebs had signed up, and then nothing happened. The podcast probably did good numbers if it was an established, self-produced podcast, but for a podcaster with an $18 million deal, it was a flop. It will not just flop, this thing is going to go up in flames. Why? The incessant lying. Her ever-moving mouth showed everyone that she could never ever in a million years run in diplomatic or political circles on a global scale. She brushed off speech-making as an unimportant task. Spokesperson and back-channel diplomacy is the key to the royal job description. She's literally more worried about her own feelings than the job at hand. You have to be able to rise above it and beyond if you're going to be an archetype. Example, Serena had to go play after a kid broke her arm. She had to work. She had obligations, contractual obligations. Her one-word answers to Nutmeg stories kind of showed she isn't buying wholesale into the Nutmeg and Ginger show. She can't shut up about confidential information. She thinks she's cleverly disguising her insults. They're clearly telegraphed. Her background isn't buried deep enough, and we can guarantee the men in the grey suits know more than either Nutmeg or Ginger. Hubris is Karma's favourite sibling. The lies are going to unwind over the next 2 weeks, just like they did with Oprah. The heater story, the housing unit, the weather, the depiction of the nanny, the supposedly crying hysterical staff, none of it has the ring of truth. Nutmeg is a liability. Accent on the lie. Spotify has an eye on who is disabling their accounts and why. They can't afford yet another Joe Rogan Neil Young scandal. They can't afford to lose subscribers to Meghan Markle. The description for Archetypes says it's groundbreaking. Yeah, it's not. Also, the blurb is poorly written. The description seems like a 12-year-old wrote it. When the podcast was announced, it wasn't surprising that's what Meghan would do. She believes she came up with the word archetypes as it is a play on, in her mind, Archewell and stereotypes. She still doesn't understand that the word has existed for 500 years. Also, it doesn't mean what she thinks it does. She believes that it's on brand because it starts with Arche. Markle has been pummelled with criticism since launching a podcast. An American television personality and author, Meghan McCain, wrote a damning review for the Mail Online. McCain said, "The majority of Americans don't care about the Sussexes, no matter how hard they try." While she applauded Meghan's soothing, beautiful voice, she said she was very concerned that the podcast won't invite debate. Is she planning on inviting anyone who challenges her worldview or disagrees with her? McCain swipes. The episode features the incredible Serena Williams as they discuss being called too ambitious. McCain recalls that Serena Williams hasn't ever been called this as she became the greatest women's tennis player of all time, making Serena's talent and ambition undeniable. She told her readers that Meghan's podcast is for elites who go to Gwyneth Paltrow for health advice and Oprah for spiritual advice, and not for women that are worried about how they're going to pay their bills. Signing off, McCain simply questions whether the podcast was really worth its giant price tag. Clearly, McCain doesn't think so.